All right, it is Tuesday, and people are coming in late because I think we had some traffic and car crashes outside and stuff, but that's okay. Today, I'm going to go over a quick new assignment and then general plans for the upcoming weeks. Yesterday, I posted this calendar. It's not new, it's just a reminder of your upcoming days. This week is normal. Next week we have one e-learning, and then normal and one e-learning, and all the way till the end. Same pattern, unlikely to change. So if you want to look at that, check out the link here. Also next week, I went over this in class, and you might see it in Impact. We got these theme days of different things to wear, building up to the homecoming stuff on Friday. And let's get to this class. So we have 2 months, 8 weeks, and we're going to have two things going on in this class. One is Code HS. If you remember before the break, we started a little lesson on the section that's called Advanced HTML and CSS. I haven't put those in the gradebook yet, but I will sometime this week. And we're not going to do every part of that unit, but I'm going to assign a few, maybe one per week to the end, And those are good because they're very universal concepts. If you learn how to make a website with multiple files, well, you might use that in another class if you make a Python program with multiple files or any kind of thing where it's not just one doc with code, it's one with some stuff and one with another type of thing, and you're putting them together. That's a very common idea. Another one of these lessons that we're going to see later is about a common piece of advice called the DRY principle, which means don't repeat yourself, DRY, and that's not specific to any one type of code. It's very useful anywhere you go. So we're going to do some of those, but then along the way we're going to get into the project we started last time about the chatbot. If you remember, we were doing one called the chatbot warm-up project, which implies there will be the real project coming up, and that's what we're going to do. So you did a chatbot individually where you opened up a template and used that template to fill in some content about question and answer. The user types something, the computer responds with something, and hopefully they go back and forth for a couple of layers of that flowchart. And maybe it was giving info or giving advice or giving a joke, anything you want. This time, you're going to make a beefed up, bigger, better version, even though it'll take less time because now we know what we're doing. You're going to have a group instead of individual. So you're going to have multiple people, maybe breaking it up into doing what you're good at. So maybe one person will do the CSS and design and make it look good and make it fit your theme. Maybe another person will do the content. The Rive script is the specific language for the question and answer. And if you know how to sort of design that flowcharty logic, maybe you'll work on that. And maybe another person will do the sort of theme and overall planning. And another part that's going to be part of this is the user testing. So you'll give this to someone, see how they react, get their feedback, and then go through another round of editing your program to fit better. And then the final part is it's going to have a little more visual pizzazz. We're going to try to make sure that instead of just following the template or instead of just slapping a background image, you're going to try to make your stuff work with the theme. If it's a medical bot giving advice or info about diabetes, then you want it to look medical and you don't want it to look cheap or silly. You want it to look kind of official, follow certain conventions and aesthetics. Today, though, we're going to start with something small, and hopefully it's going to lead us into the big stuff. So I'm going to post a text assignment right here, and it's got links to two things. One is a hopefully these articles aren't blocked by the filter, but we'll find out and we'll change it if they are. One is called Meet 3 Teen Girls Who Made Their Own Apps While Still in High School. And the other one is called 17-Year-Old Built One with blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to read that super long headline. But you've probably heard of both of these before, especially this guy. About a year ago, in the coronavirus mess of everyone being confused and every state having their own system and some of them counting things different ways, it was hard to find a source of all the info in one spot, consistent, predictable, etc. And so Avi Schiffman here made a website that tracked the best info and tried to make it, adjusted to, Florida published one type of data and Kansas published another type, and it's hard to compare them. But that became a popular site that a lot of people go to because it had something no one else did. And then, of course, the famous part of the story that makes it really interesting is that, companies went to him and said, hey, will you put our ads on here, put our logo on here, just like in you ever see like a viral tweet when in the replies it's like, damn, this blew up, check out the whatever light that makes your room look neon or whatever. Because whenever they get a popular post, people will DM them and say, hey, we'll give you $100 if you post this thing. This kid was offered a little more than that, and he turned it down because he wanted his site to be, pure and unbiased and, unsullied by that kind of thing. Maybe not everyone can do that. Maybe if you're really starving, you might need to accept it, but it's admirable that he did such a thing. And then these stories here, it's got 3 separate ones. One of them is about, and these are kind of serious topics. We've got one about a sort of mental health awareness, one about safety on campuses, and one about, this name is kind of hard to say, but it's supposed to be like algorithm, but it's got girl in it because this is about getting women and girls involved in computer science. So these stories are one type of thing that can be inspiring, but I don't want you to just focus on stuff like that. So I want to give you 3 prompts. One is if you imagine that you were going to make an app, a bot, a website, a program, however you want to describe it. It could be a big idea where you solve some big issue or you put together, global data about a pandemic, something, or you could go even bigger than that. You could say we want to, track climate change or something like that. I'm not saying you have to do that, and I'm not saying you should do that, but that's one angle. And just think of one just to go through the process. 2, what about a smaller idea, something local or something temporary? So, for example, it could be, I heard a little story yesterday about some conflict with the parking spots. So what if somebody made a little app that, tracked which parking spots were taken and which areas were off limits and things like that? Or something about the mask mandate. Now that it's changed, well, you have to wear a mask in some places and you don't in others. And then some specific businesses will still have their mandate even if the state doesn't. You could make something that's like, oh, do I have to wear a mask in Meyer? And it would say, well, not according to the governor, but this particular business says that, yes, you still want to. Something like that. Or number 3, what about a silly idea? What about a more fun idea that doesn't have to change the world? In fact, in those warm-up projects you guys did in quarter 3, the best ones I saw, the best ones you made were the ones that were kind of silly, that were like, hey, let me recommend a Star Wars character or something like that. So if you want to go with that, it's okay as long as you have the right expectation. You tell the user what's going to happen. They get what they promised, and it all works and everything else. So my prompt for you today is to come up with those 3 levels of ideas. I'm not saying you have to do one of those, but it's nice to imagine what they might be. And the way you want to do it is in a class comment. So you don't want to post this just for me. I want this to be a discussion, a sharing, brainstorming type of activity. So let's see, if I hit assign, it won't have a video yet, but it'll have everything else. You can do a class comment under it. It might look slightly different on your student view, but not a private comment, the kind that only I could see. We want to do the kind that other people can see. So this will be a way to get you thinking, and it might be a way to get us started on the project. For example, if a couple people have a similar idea, well, maybe that means they could be in a group together, you know? I'm not saying you have to worry about that, but it's a possibility. So we'll get started. I'll end the video, and we want to make sure that we have time. Next class, we might look at the Code HS. I might have grades. We might have people catching up on stuff they missed, and we might get started on the project side of this with the group and a sort of sharing and setting up that big stuff. Thanks.